It was 6 in the morning in Seattle, and the sky was still blanketed in the characteristic lead gray of the Pacific Northwest. A light drizzle was falling, casting a soft, hazy shroud over the city. In a small alley in the city's rundown industrial district, the rhythmic clanging of metal echoed from Hayes & Co. garage. Nathan Hayes wiped his grease-stained hands on a rag that had long since turned pitch black. At 38, Nathan had the rugged good looks of a man who had seen enough of life's ups and downs. He stood over 6 feet tall, with shoulders as broad and steady as a mountain, but his hazel eyes held a deep sadness, silent and still like an autumn lake. He set the wrench down and glanced at the old G-Shock watch on his wrist. Time to go. Nathan stepped into the small living area tucked right behind the repair bay. This space was the complete opposite of the dusty workshop outside, clean, cozy, and filled with bright, childlike colors. He washed his hands meticulously with special soap to get rid of the gasoline and oil smell, then gently entered the small bedroom. "Good morning, Princess," Nathan whispered, pulling back the covers for his young daughter. Olivia, 7, stirred awake, her curly brown hair a mess. She rubbed her eyes, smiling to reveal an adorable missing tooth. "Morning, Dad. Today's the big day." "I remember," Nathan smiled, scooping her up in his arms. "The science fair. Our robot is going to be the champion." While Nathan bustled around making bear-shaped pancakes and braiding his daughter's hair with the surprising dexterity of hands that once field-stripped a rifle in the dark, another world was operating in a different part of the city. The 50th floor of the Sterling Tower, the headquarters of Sterling Tech. Victoria Sterling stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the miniature city below. In her hand was her second espresso of the day, even though the clock had just ticked past 6:30. Victoria was beautiful, a sharp, cool beauty, seemingly sculpted from ice. Her golden hair was pulled up in a perfect bun, and her bespoke suit hugged her slender yet powerfully built frame. "Miss Sterling," her assistant's voice buzzed over the intercom, "Vice President Carter wants to see you before the 8 o'clock board meeting. He says there's an issue with the Aegis project budget." Victoria sighed, turning around. Her icy blue eyes revealed a carefully hidden exhaustion. "Tell him to wait, and remind the driver to get the car ready. I need to swing by Maya's school at 9. Ma'am, the meeting with the Japanese investors has been moved up to 9:15. You really can't miss it." The assistant's voice sounded apologetic. Victoria froze. She stared at the calendar on her desk. Maya's science fair. She had promised. This was the 3rd time she had promised, and it would be the 3rd time she would break that promise this month. "Send flowers and a gift to the school for her," Victoria said, her voice hardening to keep her emotions in check. "And tell the nanny to film it for me. I'll watch it later." She turned her back to the morning light and walked toward her desk piled high with files. Sterling Tech was on the verge of history with Project Aegis, a security AI capable of changing the global cybersecurity order. She could not afford a mistake. She could not afford to be weak. But Victoria didn't know that the price of perfection is sometimes higher than billion-dollar contracts. The gymnasium of Elite International Elementary School was packed. Wealthy parents in expensive clothes walked around, chatting animatedly, occasionally glancing at their children's science projects with a mix of pride and subtle competition. In a humble corner, Olivia enthusiastically explained her hydraulic arm made of plastic syringes and cardboard to the judges. Nathan stood right behind his daughter, wearing a faded plaid flannel shirt and old jeans, looking distinctly out of place among the suits and designer dresses. But his gaze was focused only on Olivia, filled with love and encouragement. "And when I push this," Olivia said, her voice clear and bright, "the water pressure pushes the piston, which makes the fingers clamp down." The panel of judges nodded approvingly. Nathan gave his daughter a thumbs up. Suddenly, a quiet sob came from the next booth. Nathan turned. It was a little girl about Olivia's age, wearing a perfectly crisp uniform, but her eyes were red and tear-filled. In front of her was an extremely sophisticated and expensive Mars rover model, the kind that probably had to be custom-ordered from professional labs. But right now, it lay motionless, emitting a thin, acrid smell of smoke. It was Maya Sterling. No one was around her. Only a nanny was engrossed in scrolling on her phone on a bench far away. Nathan looked at Olivia. His daughter understood immediately and nodded. He walked over to Maya's booth and knelt down so he was eye level with the little girl. "Hey, little warrior," Nathan said, his voice warm and deep. "What's wrong with this spaceship?" Maya started, lifting her tear-soaked eyes to look at the strange man. It's dead. Mom bought it from Germany. It has to work. If it doesn't, Mom will be so upset." Nathan glanced at the robot. He didn't need to touch it to know what was wrong. "It's not dead, it's just sleeping. Want to help me wake it up?" Maya hesitated, then nodded. "All right." Nathan rolled up his sleeves, revealing a muscular forearm with several faint scars, mementos from years spent in the Middle Eastern battlegrounds. "Lend me your hair clip." Maya took off the small metal clip from her hair and handed it to him. Nathan pulled a roll of black electrical tape from his pocket, his inseparable companion. With surprisingly fast and precise movements, he opened the battery compartment, used the hair clip to bypass a section of the circuit where the fuse had blown, and reinforced it with the tape. "The problem is right here," Nathan explained patiently as he worked. "Too much current for the protective circuit. We just need to create a little bypass. Like when the road is blocked, you take a detour." Less than 2 minutes later, he closed the lid. "Try it." Maya tremblingly pressed the start button. The blue LED eyes of the robot lit up brightly. The wheels began to whir, and the robot arm raised and waved hello. "It's alive!" Maya cheered, her radiant smile chasing away the gloom. Instinctively, she rushed forward and hugged Nathan's neck. "Thank you! Are you a superhero?" Nathan froze for a moment, then gently patted her back. "No, I'm just a mechanic." Just then, the sharp clicking of high heels on the wooden floor cut through the warm atmosphere. "Maya!" Victoria Sterling rushed over, breathing heavily. She had abruptly left the meeting, sprinting from the parking lot to get here. Her hair was slightly windswept, but her presence still radiated authority. She saw her daughter hugging a strange man whose clothes were stained with grease. Her protective instinct flared. Victoria pulled Maya back toward her, her eyes scanning Nathan like a security scanner searching for threats. "Who are you? What are you doing with my daughter?" Her voice was icy. Nathan stood up, brushing the dust off his knees. He was a head taller than Victoria, but showed no aggression. He simply replied calmly, "Her robot had a little trouble. I just helped fix it." Maya pulled her mother's arm. "Mom, he's so good. He fixed the robot with my hair clip. Look." Victoria looked at the smoothly operating robot, then back at Nathan. Her suspicions softened slightly, replaced by the habit of someone who always resolves things with money. She pulled a wad of cash from her wallet. "Thank you for your help. This is compensation for your time." Nathan looked at the money, then into Victoria's eyes. There was a prolonged silence for a few seconds. The surrounding parents began to glance over. Nathan gently shook his head, a half-smile briefly appearing, but without mockery. "Keep your money, Miss Sterling." "Excuse me? Is it not enough?" Victoria frowned. "No." Nathan bent down to pick up Olivia's backpack. "I helped because the kid needed help, not for your money. And—" he paused, then decided to speak his mind. "Next time you buy a robot that expensive, spend at least 15 minutes reading the manual with her. Kids don't need the most perfect toys. They need their parents around when the toys break." Victoria's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. No one had ever dared to speak to the CEO of Sterling Tech like that. "Let's go, Olivia." Nathan took his daughter's hand and turned to leave. "You're so cool, Dad," Olivia whispered as they walked out the door. Victoria stood rooted to the spot, still holding the superfluous cash. She looked down at Maya. The girl was looking after the retreating figure of the strange man with a look of longing she had never given her mother. A feeling of bitter failure swelled within Victoria, something she had never experienced in the corporate world. 3 days after the school incident, Seattle was engulfed in an unseasonal storm. Rain poured down like a waterfall, and the wind howled, whipping against the skyscrapers. But inside Hayes' garage, the atmosphere was warm, thanks to the yellow lights and the jazz music playing from the old radio. Nathan was lying under a 1967 Ford Mustang, enjoying the stillness of machinery. To him, car engines were much simpler than people. If something was broken, you could always find the cause and fix it. People were more complicated, full of unpredictable variables. The sensor alarm at the gate rang. Nathan slid out from under the car and wiped his hands. A sleek black Bentley, luxurious and out of place, slowly pulled into the front yard of the garage. The car door opened and a black umbrella popped up. Victoria Sterling stepped out. She wasn't wearing her usual business attire, but a cream trench coat and jeans. She looked softer, but her eyes were still full of anxiety. Nathan leaned against the garage door frame, arms crossed, waiting. "Did your car break down?" he asked when Victoria approached, his tone as nonchalant as if the argument a few days ago had never happened. Victoria closed the umbrella, shaking off the rainwater. "No, my car is fine. I came to apologize." Nathan raised an eyebrow, looking surprised. "Apologize? A CEO like you knows how to apologize to a mechanic?" "Don't mock me," sighed Victoria, her usual pride seemingly washed away by the rain. "Maya, she hasn't talked to me for 2 days. She keeps going on and on about how rude I was to her superhero uncle. I want to invite you and your daughter to dinner. Consider it a formal thank you and apology." Nathan looked deeply into her eyes. He had been trained to read people through the smallest gestures. He saw sincerity, but also a vague fear hidden beneath her tough exterior. "We eat dinner at 6:30, spaghetti with tomato sauce, not a 5-star restaurant," Nathan replied. "So, you agree?" Victoria looked surprised. "If you don't mind sitting on a plastic chair and listening to Olivia talk about dinosaurs for an hour," Nathan smiled, a genuine smile that she was seeing for the first time. It brightened his sharp features. I'll try," Victoria stammered. Suddenly, Nathan's keen hearing picked up a strange sound. It wasn't the rain, nor the music. It was a very subtle ticking sound coming under Victoria's Bentley. Along with it was the smell, the scent of C4 plastic explosives mixed with ozone. The instinct of a Special Forces soldier surged stronger than ever. "Did you come here alone?" Nathan asked quickly, his voice sharp. "Yes, I gave the driver the night off so I could drive myself." Victoria hadn't finished her sentence when Nathan lunged forward. "Get down!" he shouted. Nathan grabbed Victoria's arm, pulling her forcefully behind the concrete wall of the garage, using his body to shield her. Boom! A deafening explosion ripped through the night. The luxurious Bentley went up in a giant fireball, the force of the blast sending shards of glass and metal flying everywhere. The heat blistered Nathan's back. Victoria screamed in terror, her ears ringing, the whole world spinning. She felt Nathan's weight pressing down on her, protecting her from the deadly rain of debris. As the smoke began to curl into black plumes, Nathan lifted his head, his eyes quickly scanning the surroundings. He wasn't looking at the burning car, but at the dark figures moving in the rain near the entrance gate. 3 black SUVs with their headlights off sped toward them, blocking the exit. Men in black stepped out, carrying silenced submachine guns. "They came to clean up the scene," Nathan muttered. He looked down at Victoria, who was shaking with shock. "Listen to me, Miss Sterling. Do you trust me?" "What?" Victoria stammered, her face white with fear. "I asked if you trust me," Nathan pressed, his eyes burning with an intense resolve that made Victoria nod involuntarily. "Good. Now run inside the garage and get into the bunker with Olivia. Don't come out until I tell you to." "What about you? What are you going to do? They have guns!" Victoria screamed in panic. Nathan stood up, reaching for a steel crowbar from the tool pile. The mild-mannered mechanic's demeanor vanished completely. In front of Victoria now stood the Ghost, the legend of the covert operations unit she never knew existed. "I'm going to teach them a lesson about making noise in my neighborhood," Nathan said coldly, then dashed into the rain. The attackers moved in professional tactical formation. These were not common thugs. These were mercenaries. Their objective was clear. Victoria Sterling must not leave here alive. "Target not confirmed destroyed. Move in and verify," the commander ordered over the radio. 2 soldiers advanced toward the wreckage of the burning car. 2 others flanked wide to surround the garage. Nathan was hidden behind his old pickup truck. His breathing was steady, his heart rate impossibly slow for a life-or-death situation. He picked up a screw from the ground and threw it hard toward an empty drum in the corner of the yard. Clank! The sound attracted the attention of the soldier on the left flank. He turned his gun toward the noise. "Movement at 9 o'clock!" Just as he turned, Nathan burst out of the shadows. Quick as a hunting leopard, he closed the distance behind the soldier. A chokehold, a dry crack of bone, and the soldier collapsed without making a sound. Nathan stripped him of his sidearm, checking the magazine in a second. "Alpha 2, report!" The soldier's radio crackled. Nathan didn't answer. He moved low, using the cluttered terrain of the automotive scrap heap to approach the central group. One soldier spotted his shadow. "He's there! Fire!" Bullets rained down, tearing into the paint of the old cars. Nathan rolled, ducking behind the engine block of a truck. He raised his gun, taking a deep breath. Bang! Bang! 2 shots, absolutely precise. 2 soldiers collapsed, each shot hitting a knee joint. They screamed in pain. Nathan didn't aim for vital spots. He wanted witnesses. The commander realized the situation was rapidly deteriorating. He signaled the others to concentrate fire. But Nathan had vanished again. He was like a phantom, flickering in and out of sight between the rain and the smoke. From inside the bunker, through a narrow crack in the door, Victoria held the trembling Olivia tightly. She couldn't believe her eyes. The man she considered a common mechanic was single-handedly taking on an army of assassins. The way he moved, the way he took down each enemy, it was the art of killing. Nathan appeared right behind the commander. Before he could turn, Nathan kicked the gun out of his hand, then delivered a devastating uppercut to his jaw. The commander flew backward, slamming his back against a car hood. He scrambled back up, drawing a military combat knife. "Who the hell are you?" Nathan stepped forward, tossing the gun aside, facing him unarmed. "I'm a single dad trying to get his daughter to sleep, and you guys are making way too much noise." The commander lunged, knife aimed. Nathan tilted his body, dodging lightly, catching his wrist and twisting it back. The cry of pain was stifled by an elbow strike to the back of the neck. The commander fell into a puddle, unconscious. Silence returned. Only the drumming of rain and the crackle of fire remained. Nathan stood in the middle of the yard, rainwater streaming down his stone-cold face. He checked the surroundings once more to ensure safety, then headed back to the garage. He opened the bunker door. Victoria and Olivia were huddled in the corner. Olivia rushed out and hugged her dad's leg. "Dad, there was a big, loud explosion!" Nathan picked up his daughter, his voice returning to its usual gentleness. "It's okay, sweetie. Just a faulty firework. Daddy handled it." He turned to Victoria, who was still sitting on the floor, eyes wide with horror as she looked at him. "Miss Sterling," Nathan said, his voice serious, "your car was rigged with a remote detonated bomb. The brakes were also tampered with. Someone wants you dead tonight, and they won't stop." Victoria shakily stood up, gripping the edge of the table for balance. Why did you save me? And who are you, really?" Nathan placed Olivia on a chair, handing her noise-canceling headphones and a comic book. "You sit here and read for a bit, okay?" Then he walked to the toolbox, pushed aside the wrenches and screwdrivers, revealing a hidden keypad. He entered a code. The wall behind it slid open, revealing a secret room with a bank of computer screens, displaying green lines of code and real-time satellite maps and the architectural blueprints of the Sterling Tech Tower itself. Victoria gasped. This wasn't a repair garage. This was a miniature tactical command center. My name is Nathan Hayes, former commander of the Ghost Unit, Military Intelligence. He turned back to face her. And it looks like tonight we have a lot of work to do if we want to keep you and your company alive. The cold blue light from 6 large computer monitors illuminated Victoria's stunned face. She stood in the secret room, looking at the cascades of code, real-time satellite maps, and the architectural blueprints of the Sterling Tech Tower itself. You've been monitoring me?" Victoria asked, her voice trembling, half fearful, half angry. Nathan sat down in a worn leather swivel chair, his fingers starting to fly across the mechanical keyboard. "I monitor everything, Miss Sterling. It's a professional habit. When a major tech corporation like Sterling Tech changes its security algorithms, it affects national security. I just ensure you people don't accidentally sell the nuclear launch codes to the wrong guys." "I need to call the police, and my lawyers." "Don't," Nathan said, without turning around. "Your phone has a tracking chip installed. If you turn it on, our location will light up on the assassin's map like a Christmas tree." Victoria froze, her arm dropping. She felt helpless. Her world, where she was in control of everything with a snap of her fingers, had collapsed. Here, in this basement smelling of metal and ozone, she was completely dependent on the mechanics she had once looked down upon. "Dad," Olivia tugged at Nathan's sleeve, "where's Maya? Is she okay?" His daughter's question was like a splash of cold water in Victoria's face. "Maya! Oh God, she's at home with the nanny. If they dare touch her." Nathan spun his chair around, his face grim. "That was the first thing I thought of. The people who want you dead won't hesitate to use your daughter as a hostage to force you to hand over the Aegis source code." He typed a quick command. The central screen switched to a live feed from a security camera. "You hacked my home system?" Victoria stared wide-eyed. "Your home security system cost $2 million, but the admin password is your birth date. Too easy," Nathan smirked, but his eyes were glued to the screen. "Good news is your house is quiet. Bad news is I spotted a suspicious van parked 200 yards from the main gate. They are waiting for orders." "We have to save her." Victoria rushed over and grabbed Nathan's arm. The coolness vanished, leaving only a mother's sheer panic. "Please, I'll pay you anything. Save her." Nathan looked at her trembling hand on his. He placed his other hand over hers, a steady, calming gesture. "I'm not doing it for money, Victoria. I'm doing it because Maya is Olivia's friend, and because no kid deserves to be dragged into an adult's war." He turned to Olivia, handing her a rugged tablet. "Liv, you are the base commander. Monitor the cameras and report to Dad if anyone approaches the garage. Miss Victoria and I are going to pick up Maya and bring her here." "Roger that, boss." Olivia nodded seriously, putting on the headphones. Nathan stood up and tossed Victoria a baggy gray hoodie. "Put this on. You need to look less like a billionaire CEO and more like a civilian. We're taking the pickup truck." Nathan's 1990 Ford F-150 roared to life, speeding into the stormy night. Unlike the luxurious, quiet Bentley, this truck was loud and bumpy, the smell of gasoline filling the cab. Yet, strangely, Victoria felt safer than ever. "What's the plan?" Victoria asked, gripping the door handle as Nathan took a sharp corner. "We can't go through the main gate. They're watching there," Nathan said, his eyes fixed on the rain-slicked road. "Does your house have an entrance no one knows about? A gardener's path or an old escape route?" Victoria thought fast. "There's a passage from the wine cellar leading to the back garden, but it's been covered in ivy for ages." "Perfect." 15 minutes later, they parked 2 blocks from the Sterling mansion, hidden under an old oak tree. Nathan signaled for silence. They moved along the high stone wall. Under Nathan's guidance, Victoria was forced to climb, crawl, and scramble through the bushes in her own meticulously manicured garden for the first time. Mud stained her expensive jeans, but she didn't care. They reached the cellar door. Nathan used a small electronic device on the digital lock. Beep! The door opened. Inside, the mansion was dark. Victoria started to run toward the stairs leading to Maya's room, but Nathan stopped her. He pointed toward the living room. In the dim light filtering in from the garden, Victoria saw the nanny tied to a chair, her mouth gagged with duct tape. Two men in black stood guard at the foot of the stairs. "They're already inside," Nathan whispered in her ear, his warm breath sending a shiver down her spine. "You stay here. When I signal, run up to Maya's room and lock the door." Before Victoria could react, Nathan vanished into the shadows of the hallway. A faint clink came from the kitchen area. One soldier turned to investigate. Immediately, Nathan rushed out from behind the curtain, delivering a sweeping kick to his anchor leg that sent him crashing to the floor, unconscious. The other guard spun around, drawing his gun, but Nathan threw a Ming vase, worth $50,000 to Victoria, that hit his hand. The gun clattered away. Nathan charged, using a judo throw to flip him over his shoulder, slamming him hard against a server rack. "Go now," Nathan whispered fiercely. Victoria raced up the stairs like the wind. She pushed open the door to Maya's room. The girl was sleeping soundly, clutching the robot Nathan had fixed. "Maya, wake up, sweetie." Victoria shook her. "Mom, why are you wearing someone else's shirt?" "No time to explain. Let's play a game of hide and seek." Victoria scooped up her daughter, despite Maya being quite heavy. As they ran down the stairs, they met Nathan, who was gently helping the nanny out the back door. "To the truck, hurry," Nathan urged. Just as the group escaped the back garden, the distant sound of police sirens wailed. Olivia had activated them from the base as instructed by her father if she sensed danger. The guards outside panicked and began to retreat. Sitting in the old pickup truck speeding through the night, holding Maya tight, Victoria cried. Not from fear, but from relief. For the first time in years, she felt her daughter's heartbeat close to her chest, felt the fragile life she had almost lost while chasing numbers. Safe back at Hayes' garage, the tension had eased. The nanny, after a quick medical check by Nathan, was asleep in the living room. Olivia and Maya were giggling in the bedroom, playing with Nathan's model airplanes. In the small kitchen, Nathan was boiling spaghetti. The aroma of sautéed garlic, tomatoes, and basil spread, chasing away the smell of gunpowder and fear. Victoria sat at the small dining table, watching Nathan expertly slice an onion. She felt awkward. She could run a 50,000-employee corporation, but she didn't know what to do in this small kitchen. Can I help with something?" she asked softly. "You can get the plates. They're in the top cupboard," Nathan pointed with his knife. Victoria reached for the plates, nearly dropping one because her hands were still shaking. Nathan gently took the plate from her, their fingers brushing. "Calm down," he said quietly. "You're safe." "How can you be so calm?" Victoria stared at him. "You just took down 4 assassins, saved my daughter, and now you're cooking pasta?" "It's how I keep from going crazy." Nathan poured the pasta into a colander. "War is out there. But inside this house, there must be peace. That's the rule." They sat down to eat. The meal was incredibly simple. Spaghetti with ground beef sauce, a small mixed salad, and garlic toast. But to Victoria, it was the best meal she had ever tasted. Perhaps it was the hunger, or perhaps it was the feeling of family it brought. "Why did you leave the military? With your skills, you could be a general." Nathan stopped chewing, his gaze drifting toward a photo of a beautiful woman on a shelf. "My wife, Sarah. She died of cancer 3 years ago. I was on a mission in Afghanistan at the time. I wasn't there for her final moments." Victoria stopped eating, her heart aching. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was my choice." Nathan took a sip of water. "After the funeral, I looked at Olivia. She was 4 years old, standing alone in front of her mother's grave. I realized that saving the world meant nothing if I couldn't be her world. So I retired, opened this garage, fixing things instead of breaking them." He looked at Victoria, his eyes penetrating her core. "What about you, Victoria? What are you racing for? Project Aegis? Money? Power?" Victoria looked down at her plate. "I wanted to prove myself. My father left me the company when it was on the brink of bankruptcy. Everyone said I was just a blonde doll. I wanted to prove them wrong. I wanted to build a legacy." "And what's the cost?" Nathan asked gently. Maya almost didn't have a mother left to see that legacy. Victoria remained silent. Tears silently rolled onto her plate. She didn't wipe them away. "All right, now for the business part." Nathan stood up, clearing the dishes quickly. His demeanor instantly switched back to the ghost mode. "While you were showering, I analyzed the malware that attacked your car." They returned to the computer room. Nathan pointed at the screen. This malware was written to overwrite the car's operating system, but the writer left an accidental digital signature, a redundant piece of code used to redirect data to a personal server. Where does it lead? An IP address disguised through 5 layers of virtual servers in Russia and China, but the final layer— Nathan hit the enter key with finality. It traces back to a penthouse in Manhattan. The image of a middle-aged man with a forced smile appeared on the screen. Victoria gasped. "Carter! Vice President Carter!" "He didn't just want to kill you," Nathan explained. "He copied the source code for Project Aegis, and according to the data I intercepted from his encrypted email, the deal to sell Aegis to a cybercrime organization called Obsidian is set for 10 a.m. tomorrow." "We have to call the police."
"No time. The police need search warrants, legal evidence. By the time they knock on Carter's door, the data will be transferred and he'll be long gone." Nathan shook his head. "Besides, Carter has bought off the police chief in this county. I saw his name on Carter's black payroll list." Victoria clenched her hands into fists. The fury of a betrayed queen flared up. "So what do we do? Let him win?" Nathan turned to look at her, a dangerous and challenging smile playing on his lips, the smile of a hunter about to enter his element. "No, we play by my rules. He used technology to steal your company. We're going to use technology to take back everything and put him in jail before lunchtime." He opened a metal box under the desk, taking out 2 tactical headsets and a device that looked like a very complex USB drive. "You said you wanted to build a legacy, right, Victoria?" Nathan handed her the device. "Tomorrow, you won't just be a CEO signing papers. You're going to be a hacker. Welcome to the Ghost Unit." Victoria took the device, the cold metal feeling reassuring in her hand. She looked at Nathan, then toward the bedroom where the 2 children were sleeping soundly. A fire of determination ignited in her blue eyes. "Show me how to use this, partner." 7 a.m. Sterling Tower. Vice President Carter walked into the board meeting room with unconcealed triumph. He adjusted his red silk tie, glancing at the anxious faces of the shareholders. News of Victoria Sterling's car accident and disappearance had spread across the headlines this morning. Sterling Tech's stock was plummeting, and that was exactly what Carter wanted. He would buy back cheap shares, sell Project Aegis to the Obsidian organization, and then disappear with billions of dollars. "Gentlemen," Carter began, his voice falsely sorrowful, "Miss Sterling's absence at this time of crisis is a tragedy, but a ship cannot be without a captain. I propose a vote to remove her on grounds of mental incapacity and appoint me as interim CEO." Meanwhile, in the building's basement parking garage, Nathan drove a delivery van, with forged papers, into the loading bay area. Victoria sat in the passenger seat, a baseball cap pulled low over her face, wearing a baggy blue maintenance worker uniform. "My heart is racing," Victoria whispered, her hands sweating despite holding Nathan's military-grade tablet. "Deep breaths," Nathan reassured her, his eyes observing the security cameras through his smart glasses. "You know this building better than anyone. This is your home field. Take it back." "All right, let's go." Nathan connected a small device to the network port of a vending machine in the basement lobby. "Back door opened. I'm in the system." At Hayes' garage, Olivia and Maya, under the watchful eye of the nanny, were glued to the screen. Olivia shouted into the microphone, "Dad, there are 2 guards heading toward the freight elevator." "Copy that, little boss," Nathan replied. He pulled Victoria behind a stack of cardboard boxes. The 2 guards walked past, laughing about a soccer game the night before, completely unaware that the ghost was right behind them. "Plan A," Nathan said. "I'm going to the server room on the 40th floor to cut off the outgoing data transmission. You need to sneak into your office on the 50th floor.
Use your biometrics, retinal, and fingerprint to activate root access. Only you can do that. But Carter is having the meeting on that floor. He'll see me. He won't. I'm going to create a distraction for you. Nathan winked. In the boardroom, the projector screen behind Carter suddenly flickered. Financial charts vanished, replaced by an animated image of the robot cat Doraemon dancing. Shareholders murmured. Carter's face turned beet red as he yelled at his technical assistant. "That's the signal," Nathan said through the earpiece. "Go, Victoria. You have 3 minutes before they reboot the system." Victoria raced into Victoria's CEO private elevator. Nathan had hacked it to ignore all other calls and go straight to the 50th floor. The elevator door opened to an empty hallway as everyone was focused on the meeting room. She ran into her office, placing her hand on the smart glass desk. "Identity confirmed. Victoria Sterling. Root access granted," the AI voice announced. Simultaneously, at the server room on the 40th floor, Nathan was not as lucky. 3 of Carter's mercenaries were guarding it. They were not ordinary security. They were professionals. "Intrusion detected," one shouted, as the server room door opened. Nathan said nothing. He threw a smoke grenade, self-made from garage chemicals, into the middle of the room. A thick cloud of white smoke erupted. Gunshots rattled loudly. Nathan rolled on the floor, dodging the gunfire. He used close-quarters combat, CQC, techniques to close in. A sweep kick, an elbow strike to the throat, and the first man went down. The second lunged, trying to hit him with the rifle butt. Nathan blocked with his forearm, spinning and flipping the man over his shoulder, slamming him hard into a server rack. The third, biggest man, pulled out a combat knife and charged. Nathan stepped back, grabbing a thick network cable, whipping it across his face like a lash, then quickly strangling him with the cable until he passed out. "Server room secured," Nathan panted, wiping a streak of blood from the corner of his mouth. He plugged the USB drive into the central server. Initiating data download. In her office, Victoria was frantically typing commands. She saw Carter's data transfer status bar. Sending, 85%. "Nathan, he's almost done sending. I can't stop it." Victoria yelled into the headset. "Don't try to stop it," Nathan's calm voice replied. "Let him send it, but change the content of the data packet." "Change it to what?" "The family folder on my computer. I've linked it to the server." Victoria understood immediately. She redirected the data path to the folder containing thousands of photos and videos of Olivia's terrible school plays and childish drawings. 99%, 100%, sent. In the boardroom, Carter received the success notification. He laughed loudly. "Gentlemen, I have just secured a massive investment to save the company." Suddenly, the large screen in the boardroom lit up again. But this time, it wasn't Doraemon. It was a live webcam feed from the recipient's computer, the head of the Obsidian organization. The crime boss eagerly opened the received file, only to angrily pound the desk when the screen showed a video of Olivia dancing to Baby Shark. "What the hell is this, Carter?" the boss roared through the boardroom speakers. The entire boardroom was silenced. Carter's face was ashen. Immediately after, the screen changed. Another video appeared. It was footage from a hidden camera installed by Nathan in Victoria's car earlier, showing Carter ordering the assassins over the phone. "Make it look like an accident. Don't let that Sterling bitch survive." The boardroom door burst open. Victoria Sterling walked in, her head held high, still wearing the blue maintenance uniform, but radiating more royalty than any power suit she had ever worn. "The meeting is over, Carter," she announced coldly. Following her with a state police chief and a SWAT team. This time, real police, as Nathan had directly sent evidence to the FBI, bypassing local law enforcement. "James Carter, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, embezzlement, and economic espionage," the officer read the warrant. Carter slumped into his chair, his eyes vacant as he looked at Victoria. He had lost completely to a woman he underestimated and a ghost whose true identity he didn't know. 1 week later, the Seattle sky was unusually clear. The rain was gone and bright sunshine illuminated the lush green grass of the city park. Victoria Sterling sat on a wooden bench, wearing sunglasses, not to hide her emotions, but to enjoy the sun. She wore simple jeans and a white t-shirt. Next to her was Nathan, leisurely munching on an apple. Not far away, Maya and Olivia were flying a giant butterfly-shaped kite together. The children's laughter echoed in the wind. Sterling Tech stock is up 15% this morning, Victoria said, her voice light. The board wants to award me a huge bonus for protecting company assets. I plan to use that money to establish a scholarship fund for underprivileged children interested in technology, named the Hayes Foundation. Nathan turned to look at her, raising an eyebrow. Hayes Foundation? Sounds pretty good, but I don't need the naming rights royalty. I'm serious, Nathan. Victoria took off her sunglasses, looking him straight in the eye. You saved my life. You saved my company. You saved my soul, too. I offered you the chief security officer with a 7-figure salary. You refused. I offered to buy you a new house. You refused that, too. What do you want? Let me have a chance to repay you. Nathan looked toward the children running and playing. His eyes softened, reflecting the clear blue sky. You know, Victoria, when I was in the military, I always thought victory was destroying the enemy. But now I realize true victory is being able to sit here, eat an apple, and watch my daughter smile without having to fear the sound of bombs. He turned back to her, a mischievous smile on his face. But if you absolutely insist on paying me back, my garage needs a new car lift. The old one keeps jamming. Victoria burst into laughter. It was a natural, joyful, and full-bodied sound, a sound that had never echoed in the cold skyscrapers. All right, Mr. Mechanic. The world's best car lift will be delivered tomorrow, with one condition. What condition? You have to teach me how to change a tire, and maybe how to make that spaghetti, too. Maya said the pasta I made yesterday was terrible. She only wants Uncle Nathan's spaghetti. Nathan laughed heartily, patting her shoulder. Deal, partner. But I'm a strict teacher, you know. I'm a fast learner, Victoria winked. They sat there in comfortable silence, no longer separated by class, secrets, or schemes, just two people who had been lonely in different ways, now finding common ground amidst the broken pieces of their lives. The sun began to set, bathing the park in a golden glow. Dad! Miss Victoria! Look, the kite is flying so high! Olivia's voice rang out. Nathan and Victoria stood up together, waving at the children. Come on, Nathan said. I think we promised them ice cream if the kite flew higher than that oak tree. I recall you promising, not me, Victoria teased. We're a team now, Miss Sterling. My promise is your debt. Nathan walked ahead. Victoria watched his sturdy back, her heart filled with a strange warmth. She knew this wasn't the end of a story, but the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter not written in cold code or soulless contracts, but in love, laughter, and sunny afternoons. She hurried to catch up to him. Wait up, Nathan. My treat for the ice cream, but you're paying for the toppings.